Professor of International Politics at Lancaster University. He speaks to us live from Lancaster in the UK, so it's a pleasure. Thank you for your time. So
Thank you.
the US and Saudi Arabia have a lot of issues to work through, like human rights, oil and gas, as we mentioned. Why did things get so strained in the first place?
It's a long story. What you have is a very long and complex relationship, dates back to the 1940s, that has been a real pillar of Saudi defense and political ballast and strategy ever since then. But in recent years, the kingdom has begun to assert itself more and more and began to doubt that it could rely on Washington for its political security and its physical security in a precarious regional environment. And in those positions and those worries, the two states started to drift apart. But I think what we're seeing now is a concerted effort by the Biden administration to really consolidate that relationship with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
So back in 2015, a coalition of Gulf states led by Saudi Arabia launched a campaign of economic isolation and airstrikes against the Houthis in Yemen. How much do you think Saudi Arabia needs the US to win this war in Yemen?
I think Saudi Arabia really needs to get out of the war in Yemen for economic and political reasons. We know that the Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman, is trying to transform the Saudi state and the Saudi economy away from a reliance on oil. But to do that, he's needing to attract large-scale foreign direct investment, needing funding to try and bring about that transformation, perhaps best seen in the case of NEOM. But the war in Yemen is a huge drain on the Saudi economy. And it's also a drain on the kingdom's legitimacy amidst allegations of war crimes. The kingdom's legitimacy is being eroded by the ongoing war in Yemen. So it wants to extract itself from the war. It wants to bring about an end to it, but it needs to do that in a way that saves face. And I think that's where the US perhaps comes in.
They both share a strong perspective on Iran, but a lot has changed since we've more or less stopped hearing about, we've had the coronavirus pandemic, we've had the war in Ukraine happening, the climate crisis is becoming more of a prominent issue. Do you think priorities between Saudi Arabia and the US have changed at all?
I think that's a really good question, because we know that depending on the administration in Washington, the nature of relations with the kingdom evolve. So if you have a strong Republican sentiment, strong Republican representative in the White House, then their security policy tends to be harsher on Iran, which matches the Saudi line. But in recent years, in recent months in particular, we've started to see that soften. So it points to a possible transformation in strategic priorities. But I guess the key thing is going to be what comes next with regard to Yemen, with regard to other states in the region that have perhaps been up for grabs in regional politics, like Syria, for example. And I guess the really important one concerns the nuclear agreement with the US withdrawal under Donald Trump. US under Joe Biden is trying to renegotiate that agreement. The Iranians, I think, want the agreement because they want the injection of capital. Saudi has long had concerns about that. So whether the US can mitigate Saudi concerns and bring about a new deal that will inject money into the Iranian economy, that I think is going to be the really big test for this possible new alignment, although I think it's perhaps a little too soon to call it that.
All right, we'll have to leave this. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.